begins.
What begins?
This is a partnership. Get ready for greatness, guys.
Welcome to the Third Wind channel, where today we'll be reviewing the 6th episode of the 2nd season of iCarly, which is titled I Build the Team. This episode features Josh Peck, an exciting guest star to say the least, so let's deep dive into episode 6. Episode 6 has, as usual, our characters divided into two groups. Our main group this episode features Carly, Freddie, and Paul, and this main plot features Carly hiring a new manager, Paul, who butts heads with Freddie. They argue and fight until Carly's in distress, which is when they finally start working together. Our subplot is led by Spencer, Harper, and Millicent. The Shay is expecting a respected critic, and Spencer employs the help of Harper and Millicent. Together they end up impressing the critic. Both Harper and Spencer end up benefiting greatly from this. Now that we have briefly outlined our two plots and general happenings in this episode, let's review what each of our characters went through in episode 6, starting with Carly. Carly is going through a creative slump and has been having a tough time dealing with all the critical followers. Her solution is to ask them for ideas. Two birds with one stone. Pretty smart. The outcome of this, however, is someone from Carly's past resurfacing, Paul. Paul was Carly's quality manager from her time in Italy and has recently moved to Seattle. Carly has the idea of hiring him as the new manager for iCarly, but this is immediately vetoed by Freddie, who later admits to feeling threatened by him. With Paul getting hired, all Carly wants is the two to get along, which they won't. The conflict is resolved with Carly pulling a sneaky one on them, pretending to be in distress, which immediately invigorates Freddie and Paul to work together. Therefore, the name of the episode, Carly, building her team. We also learn that Carly wants to learn the flute secretly.
What is this?
It's an opportunity for the two of you to learn how to work together, to become the team that I know you can be.
Freddie is dealing with a lot. Producing iCarly, running the kebab, raising Millicent, and being Pearl's boyfriend. With all these responsibilities, Carly hires extra help against Freddie's desires. Freddie hates the idea of Paul being better than him, but his care for Carly eventually forces him to put aside these dislikes for Paul and seems, at least for the time being, to be ready to work as a team.
This is all your fault. Look, I'm sorry, but I cannot work with this guy, okay? It's either him or me.
Harper learns that one of her dresses has entered the worst dress list, and she is destroyed. She seeks general help and is offered a task by Spencer, which is to create the shay uniform. Her stunning uniforms create a great impression, and at the end of the episode, Harper mentions that she has recovered from her once lost mojo.
That's my mojo, y'all. I got it back!
We see Spencer genuinely stress this episode, which is not a common trait for him. He is obviously invested in this new project of his, and when it's brought up that it seems that he's giving up art for food, however, Spencer pulls some crazy antics and grants Shay a great review. More on these crazy antics in a bit.
Ah! Oh my god, oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my good arm! Oh my good arm!
Lastly, let's talk about our other characters briefly. We see Miss Benson bonding with her granddaughter Millicent. The two share many similarities. Pearl makes a brief appearance helping Freddie with a chicken problem, and Paul is really interesting to me. More on him later.
You guys mind if I just shake things up a little bit and throw out an amazing idea?
This episode we got plenty of fun Easter eggs from the original show. Let's get straight into them. I'll start with a not really Easter egg, but an amazing return from a fellow Nickelodeon castmate in Josh Peck. It was great to see the once brother-sister dynamic between Josh and Miranda return. It's really a bit of a historic moment. Although subtle, the fact that Carly was requesting fan video submissions is definitely a throwback to the original, dating back all the way to the pilot, where the kids would submit their crazy talents. Now, maybe the best Easter egg was the mention of the abundance of feet in iCarly. The poke at the amount of feet featured in iCarly shows the self-awareness of the show, and the ultimate fan service. I wonder how Dan reacted to that one, assuming he watches the show. One big Easter egg we got this episode was the mention of Mandy Valdez, who in the original appeared a few times as self-proclaimed the biggest iCarly fan on the planet. It's fun to see that after all these years she still actively follows iCarly, but the gang is definitely still scared to see her. Another huge throwback to the original is the fact that Carly is claustrophobic. We even get to see a callback to Sam's mom, with Carly reacting in a very similar way to when she was trapped in a room with the other two people, making weird sounds and cupping her ears. In both cases, it involves both people fighting, and in both cases, it involves Carly being the reason they make up. Lastly, we get a callback to Spencer being a fire god, with him spectacularly setting a fire to a table and its contents, which was legendary. Were there any Easter eggs I missed? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, subscribe if you haven't already. Lastly, let's get into our juiciest part of the video. Let's talk about analysis and takeaways. So, let's talk Paul. So many questions. Why does he take such an interest in iCarly or Carly? Did he watch iCarly before? Have Carly and Paul dated? I could go on, but for me, there are still some missing pieces here. I do hope we get some more insight on his character and not just goofs. The art critic mentions that Spencer Shay has this touch, which perhaps seems to be associated with fire. Does his successful artwork always involve spontaneous unintentional fires? Surely Freddy can't keep up all these responsibilities and remain a core member of our story. Carly is the focus, and if he can't keep it up, then it won't work. So which of the four things will Freddy drop? Kebab, Millicent, Pearl, or iCarly? Mark my words, one of those will fall wayside. I love seeing Spencer so passionate about something that he's created. This kind of artistic maturity is what I expected from Spencer a while ago. I also generally like seeing Harper's relationship with him, or a partnership, you could say, with them both being these artistic types. We got our first Freddy-Carly scene in a while, and honestly, it did not disappoint. These scenes always have this tension. I'm sure you guys feel it too. It's great. Seeing Freddy react the way that he did when Carly talked positively about another guy was important, and also in a way an Easter egg to the classic original iCarly. That's just classic Freddie Benson when he would like pan the camera away when there was a guy on screen or whatever. I love to see Carly and Freddy talk about sketches again as well. It seems like they could return to a more original style iCarly web show feel with that. Quick little mention at the end here, it was quite interesting to see Freddy and Carly get high at the very end of the episode. Very fun.
That's Paul, your producer from Italian QVC?
Yeah, I haven't seen him in forever. He's the best producer that I've ever worked with. In Europe.
But that has been the Third Win channel. How great has season 2 been so far? Good episodes just keep coming. But alright guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow for this week's Q&A following episode 6.